recently have really been like chewing on this idea that any of us call ourselves control freaks, and that term control freak is so negative, right? It just like
Yeah.
is such a judgment about type A people or people who are particular,
Yeah.
you
Who have
know,
high standards.
who have high standards. And I've really started to like reframe this for people to say, you're not a control freak, because I'm sure you have experiences in your life where you've been willing to give up control because you trust the person who's taking the control,
Yeah. And I
right?
think there is a negative connotation to control, which I don't agree with. I think
Yeah.
people have to be in control, and you want your pilot to be a control freak, right?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford, and this is We're Doing This Right, right? A podcast for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in.
Well, I'm so happy.
You're home.
The gang is back together. Oh, in more ways than one. Yes, I'm home.
Yes.
Everybody,
Okay,
if you've been following the saga of Cheryl and Emmy try to recover from a tonsillectomy. Well, Emmy tries to recover from a tonsillectomy and Cheryl supports her. It's so funny when your kid has something. It's very much a we. It's us.
Yeah,
we. This is happening and I keep thinking like, is this making me a narcissist that I'm like,
no.
But it is happening to us. We've been a package deal. But we're home and praying to all the different types of whoever you believe in that we are home for good and that there are no more complications. We are on a prescription medication for a few more days, and then she's on light duty until this coming Friday, which will be 14 days from her second surgery. And
what does light duty mean for a kid?
No heavy lifting. So they don't want her to strain anything that would strain her throat up here that would bring like extra blood pressure up. They don't want that. Now he's like, she is a kid. So yeah, I know. He said also avoid the pool. And his reason was only because if she bleeds, everybody has to get out of the pool. And that would be embarrassing. And I'm like, yeah, but she's been really like good about catching the blood. So I'm not that worried about that. She's got so much practice now from bleeding profusely from her throat. So.
Oh, poor Emmy.
Yeah, guys, there's call me. If you're having a tonsillectomy, call me. I would not say don't do it. We were like the very small percentage of people this happens to. And the fact that she came back twice was actually very unusual. Our surgeon said it was the only time he's ever had it happen. And he's at Stanford doing these.
Yeah, that's like what he does. Yeah.
That's what he does. He says he probably won't see another for 5 years. And
oh, wow.
Super rare that it happened. In fact, so now just Emmy's poor medical history is everywhere, but now she's got a hematology team that's looking in to see if there's another underlying condition. I have a blood disorder, but it's a blood clotting disorder.
Oh, so this would not be
So it's the opposite. But my sisters, okay, now we're going to just do the whole family history, you guys. This is a women podcast, so it's fine. I had a uterine ablation.
Time out. So she doesn't have to be silent the whole time. Just tell everybody.
Oh, yeah, Susie's here, guys. That's
Susie's
the other
here.
part of the gang's all back together.
Gang's all together. Sorry, Susan.
Together.
You may proceed with chatter now.
Yes.
Colleen's like, she's so unusually quiet. She must be waiting.
Yeah, Susan's here too.
I was very politely waiting for her.
She was waiting for the protocol.
Yeah, I didn't do it. There's no intro. You're no longer a guest. You've been here more than 3 times. You just live here. So the other thing, my sister had just had a surgery, and the surgeon told her that every place he touched, she bled, and that she needed to let all future surgeons know that. So that was interesting. And then I've had a uterine ablation. My mom, my aunt, my grandma, like very heavy flow. For me, it wasn't really till post kids, but I was on birth control from the time I was 16. Yeah. So whoever had a chance to bleed. So all of those reasons, my complex medical history, what's turning into Emmy having slightly complex medical history.
Which is why it's a we too, returns. Right? Like, that's all part of it, right? Is because not only is it's happening to Emmy, but so much of it is also related to you plus your past experiences, plus your history, plus you are her mom. So it's basically like a little, your heart walking outside of your body, having surgery and doing all these things. So I don't think that's a narcissist thing. I think it's a mom, a good mom thing.
We are learning how much we co-regulate with each other or dysregulate with each other. Like, it's very linked. We're in a lot of therapy right now about all of this, trying to figure out the best way to co-regulate. Because when I get escalated, then she gets escalated. When she gets escalated, then I get escalated. And it's a lot. So we're working through all of this. So anyways, so the gang's all back together. And
yay.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're home. I know that also adds to like just you guys being able to relax and have more of a support system and have, like normalcy in this non-normal time. Like that's always just so helpful.
I'm sure
two other kids.
Your other two girls,
yesterday. So yesterday was our first like full day home. We woke up at home yesterday morning and June was like, we're spending the whole day together, right? And I'm like, yeah, but we have a surprise for you. We had Louis, our first au pair, took them to see the new Lilo and Stitch movie. And
cute.
Alex and I went down to the beach and went for a walk and just had 2 hours alone.
Nice.
And June was so pissed.
We're
supposed to spend the whole day together. I'm like, you're going to have so much fun. You're going to eat candy and popcorn and it's going to be great. But, it's just like, it didn't just happen to Emmy. It happened to literally all of us.
It happened to everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think there is, and this is not what we're talking about today, but it's fine. I think there is, everyone gets affected when one person has a health issue, right? Like my sister had a brain tumor removed when I was in high school. That affected me as a 18-year-old kid, you know what I mean? And it affected our parents and it affects like all of these things, right? Like it affects, there's ripples to everybody around. Nobody's life just goes on like normal.
Well, even as an adult, when my sister's in surgery, I'm like all day on edge, and then she's got kids. So it's like, us all kind of shifting our lives to see who can go and help. And that was the kind of the other shit storm of this is that, we are going to talk a little bit more about asking for help today, but like within my own family unit, my one sister had a major surgery at the beginning of May. So she was unavailable to help. She was the closest. My older sister has her 2 kids that are like in school and they're the ones that just had the Homeward Bound story with their dog. Their house is half built. Like they're in so much stress. My mom's in Michigan on a one-way flight because my uncle has been sick for about 1.5 years and we're kind of getting towards the end and my dad's not useful for these types of things. So it's just like,
Meanwhile, I'm sure all of you are feeling the stress of not being able to help each other. You know?
Yes, exactly. It's just so taxing. And like, even when we went into the hospital, it was the middle of the night. My mom didn't respond. I texted in the family text, like, we're going. Well, and actually the first time it was like 8:00. But that's 11:00 in Michigan. And she was already asleep. And she didn't see it till the morning. And I was like, God, she's going to wake up and be so upset.
Oh, yeah. Or mom.
But anyways, so we're going to talk about a different type of help today.
This is actually kind of related, Ashley.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that my work help, because we're going to talk about help at work, and my work help really stepped in these last 2 weeks in major ways. But we're gonna talk about how to set that support, that help up in your business. So Susie, take it away. You're our tour guide today.
Wait. I think because you never know who's new to listening to the podcast every single day. So I think you do need to give Susie a little intro.
Okay.
We can't just be like, yo, Susie's here in the house. She's going to talk about some things. Okay.
I wish Susie was in my house. Okay. Susie Adamson from Pennsylvania. She is a master of all things. She'll tell me she's not. She's a real estate coach that focuses on giving real estate agents their life back by helping them set up processes and systems and just simplify their lives. So her whole goal is that all of us business owners, specifically she's working with realtors, but I know she wishes this for all of us, we could all go on vacation and not bring our laptop.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
So Susie, show us your ways. How do we do that?
Perfect, perfectly timed because we're just about to head into really like full summer. I know
travel season.
You're already in it, Colleen.
Yes.
I can't believe your kids are already out of school. It's crazy, but
oh my God. And I'm going to just tell you, listen, this is very preemptive, but this is a success story of Susie. She doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to tell you. So I have a new director of operations / kind of like business partner, Bhavna, who, if you know me, you know her. And first of all, when she saw the operations manual that Susie helped me set up and all our systems and processes, she literally went silent for like a minute and a half because she was so blown away. And she looked at me and she was like, Colleen, nobody's doing this. Nobody's doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, I haven't really been doing it because I needed you to help me do it, but I have it because I have Susie. But we were doing it, right? But like, and she is in Spain right now. And guess what? I said to her when she went to Spain, I said, you do not need to bring your laptop. And she was like, really? I was like, no, man, you don't need to bring your laptop.
I just did the same for my partner. She went to her daughter's graduation and she said, I'm packing. Do I bring my laptop? And I said, you don't. You do not bring it. I've got this. You go.
Oh my gosh, that just like fills me up. My job is done. I'm done. Bye, guys.
I don't stop. There's more people that need help.
Admittedly, I'm probably Susie's worst student. Like if Susie wasn't one of my very good friends, she'd probably be like, I'm not coaching you. You're terrible.
Listen, I can't name names, but you're definitely not my worst student.
Well, when we're done recording, I'd like some names.
Okay, no. Susie, so tell us like, what do you want to talk about today? Because I know we have a whole episode about asking for help. And then you came back to us, not came back to us because we talk to you pretty much every day, but you were like, we should talk about asking for help in our business. So this really does tie in, Cheryl, to what you were doing and everything that's going on in my life and everybody else's life. So Susie,
speaking of narcissist, I do feel sort of narcissistic that I enjoy listening to our episodes together, but mostly it's just because I feel like I get to re-listen to our conversation. I just feel like I'm with you guys and I miss you so much.
I know.
So any opportunity I get to listen to your voices and feel like I'm part of the conversation is a great thing. And I just feel the need to clarify that my name is not, in fact, Susan. That is the running joke. I used to hate when people called me Susan, but now it's just funny. So anywho, okay.
We call her that because she hated it, you guys. And that's when it becomes funny.
Yes. Because why would someone name their child a nickname? Susie, but that is my American name.
Yeah.
Wait. Well, what is your Korean name?
My Korean name is Sugyang, which please don't try to pronounce it because it's not easy to pronounce for white people. So that's why my uncle, when we moved here, gave us, I call it white people names. My name is Susie, which is a nickname. Yeah. And my whole life, people have assumed my full name was Susan.
Oh, anyway. You need to start correcting them and be like, actually, it's Sugwon.
It's Sugyang.
I did it wrong. See, I did it wrong.
Oh, God, don't do it. Don't do it, Cheryl. Don't be the stereotype.
Guys, I can't even say like white words. So, of course. I've been in speech for my R's my whole life. I can't roll an R.
Fair enough.
Hilarious. I'm crying. Okay,
go on. So
I was listening to this episode that you just reposted of ours, which I think is just like timely all the time, a conversation about asking for help. And I was thinking about how so many of my clients struggle with growing their team, adding people at all, even just an admin. Yeah. I recently have really been like chewing on this idea that any of us call ourselves control freaks, and that term control freak is so negative, right? It just like is such a judgment about type A people or people who are particular.
Yeah.
Who have high standards.
And I've really started to like reframe this for people to say, you're not a control freak. Because I'm sure you have experiences in your life where you've been willing to give up control because you trust the person who's taking the control.
Yeah. And I think there is a negative connotation to control, which I don't agree with. I think people have to be in control, and you want your pilot to be a control freak, right? Like want, but also be able to
ever get called a control freak.
No,
I'm sure
some do, but
much less though, right? I mean, we have certain people in power right now. No one's calling them a control freak. They call them a dictator, which is like a different story. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, People aren't going around being control freak to men the way that they do to women. It's always a negative thing. And it's, when people say it about themselves because they don't know how to delegate and they don't know how to add people to their team, I say that's just because you haven't found the right person to throw the ball to. So whenever people have joined me, like if I have a team, if anyone I hire, I say to them very frankly, if I throw you the ball and you can't catch it, then you're no good to me. Like just point blank, you're no good to me. Your job is to take away some of my stress. If you add to my stress because I'm constantly throwing the ball and then picking it back up and then throwing it to you again and picking it back up, then it's not a good fit. You might be, you're probably a better fit for somebody else, something else. It's not a judgment on you as a human being, but we're not a good fit. I need you to catch the ball every time, the first time. Every once in a while, you're going to miss it. You're going to make mistakes. Just don't make the same mistakes over and over again. Right?
Well, and the other part, I think this is the picking it back up and throwing it back, but like the having to watch intently to make sure they're not going to drop it, to make sure that it gets completely done, so that I'm not like, is it happening? Is it not happening? I don't know. Right. So now I'm like still stressed, waiting to see. Right. Am I going to need to step in?
And I would very strongly maintain that most people, if they examine their life personally and professionally, but let's just keep it in the professional realm, they examine what they think they're controlling over. It's not everything. There are certain things that we like have particularly high standards about. Yeah. Right? You couldn't go through life if you were like exacting about every little thing. If that's the case, then there are other issues. then really that's room.
Let me introduce you to my therapist.
That's house therapy. Like that's a whole other story. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like for ordinary people, all of us who are high achieving, who have very high standards, who are particular. I am particular about a lot of things. And I'm not going to apologize for that anymore. Like I've gotten to the point where I realize I don't need to apologize for that. And I am very clear that there have been many cases in my life where I have been delighted to give up control when I trust the person taking control, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the things, Susie, that you do and you teach and you coach on is how to give that person a way to not drop the ball.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think that's the missing link when you have these quote unquote control freaks and they're like, fine, I'll give you a chance. And they're not just throwing you a ball, they're throwing you like a wild pitch and they expect you to catch it, but you don't have a glove and you've never played baseball and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Right.
And then you have quote unquote failed. And then they're like, well, I can't fucking trust anybody. Nobody can do what I can do. And it's like, no, you didn't set that person up for success either. And then they're right. And we talked about in our last episode with Tanaz about this idea of being right. And I think this is where these control freak or people who burn out easily or people who are unwilling to give away quote unquote control is they want to be right about only them being able to do it. And then they don't set the other person up for success. And then they prove themselves right every single time.
Yes. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? There are a whole myriad like dynamics going on here.
Yeah.
And this comes, this idea and what I'm going to set forth as the sort of framework comes from conversations I've heard you guys having with other people, as well as conversations I've had with my clients and what they struggle with, as well as listening to people who are successful at growing their teams and running organizations. And I will say, particularly for this audience of entrepreneurs, a big problem is that most entrepreneurs don't come from a management background, right? I know most real estate agents that we talk to don't have. So that's why when I talk to potential coaching clients, I do ask them, what did you do before real estate? Because I find that a huge indicator of success for what I coach to, not in real estate in general, because I think you can be a great realtor having never been in corporate America.
Right.
But a great indicator of someone who is able to be coached within the systems world is someone who has worked in corporate, who has actually seen structure work, who understands what good management and bad management looks like. Most of my management skills have come from having poor managers.
Right.
We can all relate to that.
Yes.
Every single one of us, every single one on this person on this earth, I'm sure, has had a bad manager. I've had managers who literally made me cry.
Right.
Made me cry, who are abusive, right? I mean, we've all probably experienced that to some extent. They taught me a lot about what kind of manager I didn't want to be. And I've experienced that also in the team leader role. At being a team member of 2 different teams in real estate, I learned what kind of team leader I wanted to be. And so all of that to say, this loose thing that I've kind of came up with listening to our last conversation was 3 S's. I love alliteration. It just helps, I think, it helps me remember things. Standards, systems, and support. And this is where, these are 3 areas where I see a lot of real estate agents fall down in terms of building up a team. So let's start with standards. Standards meaning creating a list of values, creating a written set of identifiers for culture, writing down what your mission is. You guys know how strongly I feel about a mission statement.
Right.
Writing those things down, getting that out of your head is the first step in making sure that you're not expecting your team member to be a mind reader. Oh, well, I thought you knew that it was just important to service our clients this way, or that you should pick up the phone or respond to them in a certain set of time period. Or I don't need you to take your laptop with you when you go on vacation. Standards and expectations. I had one team leader, literally one of her set of standards, written standards, said that every one of her team members had to look fabulous. That was on her list of standards. But I was very clear on what they meant. And I told my husband, I have to go shopping because I have to look fabulous. It's actually kind of awesome. But,
Colleen, I feel like that could be on your list of standards.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it. But
it was important to her. And I'm not making fun of that. I thought
I think it's great.
I was very clear about what her expectations.
That's like the brand. That's the mission. That's the way they want to make people feel.
Totally. Yeah. And I do think that is one of your standards, Colleen, to present a certain way, right?
Yeah, I agree. And interestingly enough, I have two team members that I'm adding potentially, most likely next month. And not that they dress bad, but if they want to learn what I do and how I do it and the way that the Maverick
play in your price point,
in our price point, and go to the events that I go to and do the things that I do, you got to have a certain fabulousness.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will make them feel uncomfortable. And it's not about necessarily me. Also, I mean, it is the brand and it is whatever, but it's also making sure that they feel like they belong, feel like they feel comfortable, feel like they can be successful in that situation. So I think, when we talk about these things, it's so important.
It's you setting that up in advance so that they don't have to guess, right? So there's clarity. I mean, I love the idea. Years ago, I had a boss who his dogs got away. His dog, and we all have dogs, so we totally appreciate this.
Yeah,
very expensive dogs got away. Maybe a week later, they came back scraggly, just a disaster and terrified, right? Because they had been out in the wild, and so the first thing he did was put up a fence. And I always say that was a gift to them, right? This is not it wasn't something to hem them in. It was to protect them.
For
and
their
that
safety.
Is what we're trying to do for our team members, right? You need to set up just like we do with our children and whatever. So standards is the first thing. And then systems, we've talked about, that's my whole reason for being right now in real estate and coaching is just helping people set up systems. So when people say to me, oh, I had a virtual assistant, it didn't work for me. Or I had an admin, it didn't work for me. I say, well, let's take a look at your systems. What did you do to set them up for success? Right? What did you do so that they had a lower likelihood of failure? Right? So do you have a checklist? Do you have templates? Do you have the exact words that they need to say? Because they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know your tone, and they don't, and give them room to put their own spin on it, but you need to give them enough structure and enough clarity on exactly what you expect to happen at each step. There is so much variability on how people do things, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like a kitchen. I liken this to kitchens all the time. It's just like either you're in, even think about McDonald's. I often say it's like the difference between a home cook and a Michelin star chef, but frankly, it's just like the difference between a home cook and a McDonald's too. McDonald's has a fine-tuned process, right? They have systems. That's why they can churn out as much as they can, because they know exactly, they have everything ready. There's a mise en place. And so everybody can work faster. They know exactly what their duties are, right?
And
And
it's
they can do it with
consistent.
precision.
Yeah,
You
they
know
could
what
walk
you're
into a
getting
McDonald's anywhere and
Absolutely.
everything would be in the same structure. They could step in literally at any store and do the
Right.
same job.
Right.
What I love about what you do, Susie, is you really put the onus on the leader, right? Like
Yeah.
this is really on the leader and your ability to lead,
Mm-hmm.
not on, oh, that person was shitty or that
Yes.
person wasn't good or that person just didn't work out. Because in most situations, not all, but I think in most situations, if you've set up systems that set somebody up for success,
Mm-hmm.
then they can do the job.
That's right. I mean, this is true of any organization or
Yeah.
any type of like structure that you can look at. The government, your family, a business, right? It
Kids.
is really, the ownership is on the leadership.
Mhm.
And, in parenting, we hear this from people like, oh, I wish I could get my child to stop putting their phone in their bedroom. Like, what are you talking about? It's your
Yeah.
phone. It's like, it's your house. Like, it's
Yeah.
your job to not make that happen, right? Okay, so in
Ugh,
any
Alex
situation,
just said that to me this morning because the house was so clean apparently last week while Emmy and I were gone. My mom helper messaged me. She worked half her normal hours. She's like, the house was just in great shape. First of all, let me say the house was in great shape because they left the house at 7:15 every morning and didn't get home till 7:30 every night. So
Right. No one was home.
it was different. But I got home on Saturday and the house was fucking destroyed, of course. And we're talking about it this morning. He's like, well, we just have to hold everybody accountable to picking up after themselves. And I'm like, where'd that go on Saturday? But okay. But it is, I mean, at the end of the day, it is our job as the parents,
yeah.
the leaders in this home, to hold them all accountable to, when you are done with that snack, you put your plate in the dishwasher, you put the trash in the trash can. Like these are the standards we have in our home, and we
Yeah.
need you to rise to them.
And setting
And unlike,
expectations or like
yeah,
clear expectations, right? Like I know with Vivian now, like if she asks me a question and I give her an I don't know answer or I give her a maybe, she's going to ask me that fucking question 700 times. And it
right,
drives me nuts, but it's driving her nuts that she doesn't have a concrete answer to her question. So
right.
now I know very clearly if she's like, Mom, can I have a play date with Lily? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a play date with Lily in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Not, I don't know, I have to ask her dad. I don't know, I got too many things going on right now.
Yes.
I don't know. It drives her nuts too,
And that's
right?
such a great point that, like, people in general, from children to adults, don't do well with ambiguity.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want clarity. We want
Yeah.
clarity in our medical like opinions. We want clarity in our, directions on the map. If the
Yeah.
GPS said, "Well, you could go this way, you could go this way," like, I don't know, you
Yeah.
decide.
Go
Like,
left
that
or
would be
right. Pick
fantastic,
it.
right?
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Exactly. So clarity is, all of this provides clarity.
Yeah.
Standards provide clarity. Systems provide clarity. And then the third thing I see people really mess up on is support.
Mm.
And by support, I also bake into that training, right? So I tell people, I think I told one of our friends recently, when you add people to your team, I want you to plan on an hour a day for the first week, and then an hour every other day for the second or third week. And this is not set in stone. This depends, of course, on the person and like the nature of what you're training them on. But in general, plan to spend some of your time, plan to sacrifice your time and your energy in the first months, right?
Months. Yeah.
Making
There's
sure,
another S.
right, that they are informed on what you're expecting of them. And then part of support, I think, is very much performance reviews.
Mm.
Have set standards. And real estate agents suck at this,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is not something you're taught by your sales manager. But I did learn this from Keller Williams, who is like really the best at training. that you should have 30, 60, 90-day check-ins for new hires.
Okay.
And one of the things that I learned from them that I just really, really can't emphasize enough is it's either a red light or a green light. We all make the mistake of sitting at a yellow light for too long. And if any of you have ever lived in New Jersey, no one will let you sit at the light for more than a nanosecond. They will honk at you in a nanosecond. So I want you to think about that when you're sitting with your hires. So many people are like, I'm really not happy with them. I don't think it's a good fit, but I'm just going to give it another 30 days. Like, why?
Why?
It's not good for anybody, right? You should know within the first 30 days if it's a good fit or not. And you should be able to, if you've set up the right standards, if you've set up the right systems and given them sufficient training, you should know very quickly if it's a good fit or not.
Right.
We don't in our families have the luxury of firing anyone, nor should we
Sort
have
of.
that ability, but we do in our organizations have the ability to quickly pivot if it's not a good fit. And I really love the language that I learned from KW, which is it's not a like evaluation of their ability in general in life, their qualifications for everything. It's not a character assassination. You're just saying these were the expectations of the job. Here's how you're measuring up. This is or is not a good fit for you. Let me help you find a better situation if this isn't the right thing, right? I
Yeah.
think Elizabeth Convery mentioned that about her teammates, right? And
Yeah.
I wholly agree with her on that. If you can find them a situation where they're a better fit, fantastic.
Right.
But that's also not your full responsibility. Your responsibility
Right.
is for the team that remains. And I have heard people say, I resent my team leader because they're keeping on people who are not pulling their weight or who are not doing as much as I'm expected to do and are still held to the same, we're all held to the same standard. We're all getting bonus or we're all getting opportunities and yet I'm doing so much more. It leads to problems within the whole team if you're not stepping up to do that, have that hard conversation.
I was going to say also, Susie, when you're talking about this and you're talking about doing these these reviews, and you mentioned it, it's like having those measurable things
Mm-hmm.
to really that are clear expectations and measurable. But I think, especially in our world, that's not always a sales volume or number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really, and I think this is where it gets tricky for people, is breaking down what are those things that gets them
Yes,
to the sale, right?
that's right.
It's not, okay, it's been 30 days and you haven't sold a house yet, so bye.
Yeah.
It's been 30 days and how many people have you talked to? How many note
Yeah.
cards have you sent? Things like that, right? And creating those micro steps or those smaller
Yes.
goals that they can achieve.
Yes. And this is where if you know that you're going to do a 30-day evaluation, then that sort of forces you to think about, all right, well, what will I be evaluating them on in 30 days? What will that conversation look like? Which will then push you backwards, which is where a lot of my coaching has come from. It's like, when you want to be here, you have to, let me backtrack and think about, all right, what checklist needs to be put in place? Oh, and then if that checklist is in place, what template do I need to put in there? And then if the template's there, what form do I need to put into the template, et cetera? Like, if you're going to have a 30-day evaluation, at which point you're going to say green light or red light,
Yeah.
you are like 90%, I can be assured that you're a good fit, or you know what, it's like below that. And so, I don't know that it's a good fit. Then you need to think about what are the SMART goals.
Yeah.
And that is one business acronym that I can get behind, right? Specific, measurable,
Achievable.
achievable. Thank you.
Attainable, yeah.
Yeah.
Attainable, achievable, realistic,
Yep.
and time
Time.
sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is where AI is super helpful. So if you take all of what I said, you need to set standards, you need to provide systems, and you need to give support. And you ask your best friend, I call him Charlie, because it's an androgynous name. So I
My
asked
Bob is
Charlie,
just bestie, also
right?
androgynous.
You can just say, I'm going to add this to my operations manual for any onboarding new team members and prepping for them. Can you tell me, based on what you know from me, what are my standards. What can I put for my values, my culture, the, expectations that I have? And then what are some systems that I need to put in place that I may not have? And then what support do I need to provide? And what are going to be the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time sensitive goals that I will use for my 30, 60, 90-day performance checks?
Yeah. I think, when you're talking about AI has obviously just like revolutionized a lot for us, right? Because that makes it super easy to go in and ask those questions. And I think where people struggle, or where, quote unquote high performers, or people who are like really good salespeople, or they're very like, like me, like I'm like an influence type person, where systems is not where my skills excel.
Mm-hmm.
This gives people the tools to do that.
Right.
But even better, you should hire Susie. And I just think like to understand, like when people are like, well, how did you do what you did in such a short period of time? It takes a minute, because when you're doing it and you're doing everything and you're doing all of these things so fast, it takes more than a minute. It takes a while to sit down and be like, okay, what systems and processes did I do subconsciously or consciously that got me to this point? And I think that's where, in my opinion, some leaders struggle, because they're like, well, I just did it.
Right.
I don't know how to explain what I did. I've just got it. I've just got it. I've just got the it factor. And it's like, I get that, but there were some tangible steps that you did. So how do we do it?
Right.
Come back next week to hear the rest of Susie's episode.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.